Welcome to the Real Retirees of New Jersey, powered by Liberty Financial Group and Artemis Wealth Advisors. Randy and Peggy Fisher want to help you retire once and retire right. Get more information at therealretireesofnewjersey.com. They never throw the first punch, but they're always a knockout.
Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for downloading. But most importantly, thanks for listening. This is the Real Retirees of New Jersey podcast with Peggy and Randy Fisher. It's all powered by Liberty Financial Group and Artemis Wealth Advisors. You can get more when you visit therealretireesofnewjersey.com. You can find that and all the information here in the show notes. My name is Mark Owens. Now, let's get to the show. Before we get rolling this morning, my question to you, Randy, my question to you, Peggy, is who needs to be listening to this show? Obviously, we're focusing towards adults to and through retirement. But in your opinion, who needs to hear this show the most?
Anyone who's alive and breathing.
Not a way to narrow it down to about...
It is about age 55 to 72, 75.
All right, those that are alive and breathing from 55 to 72. All right, we're getting there.
Okay.
What would you add?
What would you add to that, Rand?
She just wants. She's just looking for listenership.
We're looking for listeners out there. If you're alive and breathing,
how about that? Here's
give us a call.
If you're actually listening to a financial radio show, then you're actually listening for either two reasons. One, you either manage your own money and you're looking for tips or tidbits on how to make your life better, or two, you actually have money and you're actually second guessing whatever is going on in your management style. And you don't know if what you have is good, bad, or indifferent. And you're potentially shopping around for a second opinion.
So regardless, if you are doing that, give us a call at 908-844-8337.
Right to the advertisement. Right to the advertisement.
We'll give you the second opinion and we'll give you some advice.
Oh,
but you're not wrong, though. I mean, Randy, you hit the nail on the head.
You did. Absolutely.
If you're listening this weekend, that means you have questions. That means you have some concerns about your retirement strategy and money and all that good stuff. Let's get to it here because speaking of money, Warren Buffett, 94 years old, Oracle of Omaha, announced he's going to take a little bit of a step back within the next year or so. But he's always stood by certain investment rules. Research your stocks, know what you're buying and hold them. Don't let emotions or politics guide your investment decisions. And above all, don't lose money. Does that way of thinking, does that still hold up in the way that you structure portfolios today?
Well, it's funny because I think some behavioral science of research shows, I looked this up, that most people who do their own decisions on investing are below average investors.
They are.
And why is that? For
One
the
word.
simple thing we always say, what, Randy?
Emotion.
100%. You hit it right on the head. We didn't even discuss that together.
I know, I've been doing this a while.
I know, that's nice.
You two should date.
Yeah, we should.
I didn't get a middle finger up yet.
Yet. It's early. Yet.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. You are number one.
But no, they say the biggest reason is because you're doing your investing based on emotions. And we always tell all of our clients that we do not do your investing based
Those who
on
say
emotions,
that they're not
or politics.
Those who say that they're not emotional about their own money are full of crap.
Yes.
Okay, let me be. I could have used 8 million other words for you, ladies and gentlemen, but we'll just keep it to that one. The fact of the matter is, when you have a financial advisor or someone who's managing your portfolio, just like we have people managing our own portfolios, they're disconnected from the emotion, right? So although I'm emotionally connected to a client and I want to do the best thing I can for them, I'm not emotionally connected to their money to base a decision on what's going on and what's not going on correctly or incorrectly. For instance, most of our advice, we're very contrarian. So just take these past 5 months. For the most 5 months, people have been running from the market. People have been diving out. People have been saying that the world's coming to an end.
And what's the major word? You go back
right?
to politics, right? Tariffs. Oh my God, the world's falling. You know what I mean?
Whether
I don't know how many
war,
clients called us.
tariffs,
Yes, everything.
recessions, depressions, they're going to destroy the economy, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
We mentioned Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha. August 30th is his birthday, 95 years old. One of the biggest things he's always said is be fearful when people are greedy and greedy when people are fearful.
Absolutely.
We've been using that same approach for 30 years, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you, it's paid ridiculous dividends again, because the amount of interest and dividends and gains that people have actually experienced over the past 5 months in our accounts, because we've either stayed the course or we actually utilize the strategy in which we want to try to continue to incorporate is to basically buy low and sell high. We've killed it. And quite frankly, we're going to continue to kill it moving forward, because I think the economy is just going to get stronger And every time there are dips out there, that's an opportunity, right? That's a present for us to find a gem that we can literally, place people's money in over a short period of time or even a longer period of time. So time in the market was one of the other things you mentioned, Mark. I just want to bring this up.
Sure.
In order to create a gain, what must you do? If I have something that was started at $5 and now it's worth $20, right? On paper, it's worth something, right?
Yep.
But in order for me to lock into that gain, what do I have to do? It's a 4-letter word.
Sell.
Sell.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Bing, 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 bing.
You've only been doing this with me for 30 years?
I know, but sometimes when you ask these questions, I'm like, what's the right answer on this,
Listen,
right?
I
just went with that. Sell.
Listen,
Sell. I'm
yell
gonna
it out. Yell it out when you know it, okay? Yell it out.
Sell.
There you go. Sell. You must sell.
Yes.
Right? Does that mean you're sitting here every day buying and selling something? No, that's asinine. That's stupid. That makes absolutely no sense. That's called day trading and that's gambling. But in order for you to lock into a gain, you must sell. In order for you to sell, you actually have to make a decision, right? Most people don't want to make a decision to sell, so they have a buy-hold strategy forever. That's passive investing. So what that basically means is in order for your money to be worth more, in the future, it must be worth more later than it is today. That doesn't always happen, right? So there's times where I hold on to something and it's worth less later, right?
Yeah.
But it was worth more today. Well, why didn't I sell it? That's called second guessing. That's an emotional standpoint. But if you have rules of engagement and you say, okay, within my portfolio, when it gets to this, we're selling no matter what, we're going to sell some of it. Maybe we sell all of it. But the other opportunity is, well, what do we do with the money once we get it out of there? We've got to go hunt for something. What do we put it in? Well, something that's depressed or down. Buy low, sell high. He's been saying that for 95 years, right? So again, ladies and gentlemen, we don't like to reinvent the wheel. No. What we want to do is we basically just have specific rules of engagement, kind of like Buffett does, and we follow them over and over and over and over and over again. And that's basically leads us to success. Does it guarantee success? No, nothing guarantees success, but it actually weights the probabilities in our favor.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt. We also see too, like when you said about that, about sitting out of the market entirely only to invest again and waiting for the value to rise.
How many people have missed the ride?
Oh my God. Randy says that all the time. Tons of clients. They sit out of it because they're scared because of emotion.
Unbelievable emotion.
Yes, it's
right?
100%.
And again, remember, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you need that financial Jiminy Cricket that's sitting on your shoulder to kind of walk you through it. We're not sitting here saying we need to be in, we need to be out. It's not invest for all reasons and all seasons. If it gets crazy, guess what? We're not going to be stupid and stay in it all day long either. Most people, what I hear from their advisors are phrases like this. You're getting the same result as everybody else is. The market's up, you're going to make some money. If the market's down, you're going to lose money just like everybody else. That to me is just stupid phrases. You're telling me that Wall Street, when the market goes down, they're all losing? They're not all losing.
No.
They're not all winning, but they're not all losing. There's an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, in every market cycle, in every sector, in every industry, in every day, every week, every month, every year. No doubt. Do you get lucky enough to find them? Or do you have the patience to find them? Well, guess what? That's called research. Research costs time. And that's the big difference between actively managed portfolios and passively managed portfolios.
Right. Yes.
Actively managed portfolios are burdens of work. I'm going to tell you, we work ridiculous amounts of hours researching with our teams to find and construct portfolios and to do the right things. We can take an easy approach. We could just be money gatherers.
Yeah, we could.
We can come in here and have a cup of coffee with people and say, hey, listen, I'm going to put you in this little pie chart, asset allocation. We're going to sit here because this is what the industry tells us to do.
But that's not us.
Be time in the market, and you don't need it right now. You can have it later. It'll go up, it'll go down, but hopefully in the future, based on probabilities, you'll have more later. Well, how about if you retired in 2000 or 2001 or 2002? Those were 3 down years in a row.
Yeah.
What if you retired in 07, 08? What if you retired in 2015? What if you retired in 2020, 2021? Those are all down years. Go back 10 years prior to that. People say, well, if I'm in the market for 10 years, I can't lose money.
Yeah.
Well, if I was in the market from 1990 to 2000 and I retired in 2000, I have a lot less money than I did.
That's true.
Right? And what are the implications? I may have to go back to work. I may have to reduce my income. I may have to do both. So all of those things, are compounded effects of planning, strategy, when and where and what to put your money in and why. So just think about it with that for portfolio construction.
Right. All about the plan, Rand. All about the plan.
Always the plan.
908-844-8337. Again, 908-844-8337. You touched on it there for a second, and I jotted this down, the active versus passive managed portfolio. Can you give me a deeper dive into that and like the pros and cons of each one and what you do and why you think one is better than the other? You mentioned it, but give me a little bit more.
So we talk about that always with our clients too. They'll come in and say, oh, John so-and-so, said I should just, leave all my money here. Just make sure that he'll check on that in like a year from now. We're going to be good. That's not how we are here. We have phone calls every 3 months with you, with our wealth advising, with our life insurance, with our annuities. We talk to you about things like that. We don't just say, oh, here, set it and forget it. That's not us here at Liberty Financial Group and Artemis. We are about being the active manager and talking to you, seeing what you are doing. What is the plan? We do texts, we do emails, we do phone calls, not just in like the bad times. We do it in the good times too. Hey, did you realize we just made, so much money this week? We're doing great.
I love making calls when the market's down.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
Because most of our clients are not getting crushed like everybody else in the market when the market's down.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we're continually saying, hey, listen, you know what? You got a couple extra dollars sitting around right now. This is a wonderful time to get back in it. And most people never hear from their advisors when the market's down.
Right.
People the advisor goes into hiding.
They do.
Because they're worried about them getting a adverse effect of that client saying, you know what, you're doing a bad job, or I'm taking my money away from you, or, they start asking questions and the advisors don't have the answers. The worst thing you could do is not answer a question. The worst thing you can do is not talk to a client.
Yeah. Or avoid the clients. We hear that from our clients all the time. I sent them an email and I got no response back.
Communication's key.
Absolutely.
The difference between active investing and passive investing, ladies and gentlemen, is there's a number of different things. If we look down two different columns, active investing by definition is attempting to beat the market through analysis and timing. So when people say you can't time the market, that's not entirely true. Hedge fund managers, mutual fund managers, pension managers, they all manage money trying to beat the market every day. Why can't an advisor try to do the same thing?
Right.
Why can't you try to do the same thing? If you're managing your own money, do-it-yourselfers, you're doing the same thing. Now, passive investing is slightly different. What you're looking there is to match the performance of an index or the market. So what you're doing is you're tracking the S&P 500 or you're tracking the NASDAQ 100 or the Mag 7 or whoever it may be, and you're looking to get just as good as that is. That's the reason why most people say 85% of mutual fund managers or people who are investing, in mutual funds never beat the market because they're not built to beat the market. That's like saying I'm driving around in a 1978 Volkswagen and I'm trying to race a Porsche. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go. Do I have four wheels and a steering wheel? Yeah, it's going to go, but it's not going to go as fast as a Porsche, right? So it's the same concept there. One more step is the strategy. So with strategies of active investing, it's more or less individual equities and research-based decisions. Where there are rules of engagement. I bought something, I'm holding it, it's marinating. When it got to a certain value, we're selling it. Mm-hmm. Why? Because we don't want to be pigs about it. We've made some money. We take the money, we recycle it back into the portfolio.
Yeah.
Strategy for passive investing is buy and hold. So buy and hold diversified funds like the S&P 500 or mutual funds. You're basically in it and that's it. If the market's going up, so are you. Unfortunately, if the market's going down, so are you. So you're going along for that ride, right? The goal of active investing essentially is to outperform the market, and we call that alpha, getting more than what you pay for. If I were to go out to dinner and I would pay $300 at a gourmet restaurant, walked out of there with a very happy full belly, I'd say that was well worth the money. If I walked into McDonald's and spent $300, I'd be pissed off, right? There's no alpha spending $300 in McDonald's, right? Where you're in
I don't know. Their Big Macs have gotten a little expensive.
Yeah.
I like the McRib. Yeah. The passive investing style and the goal there is to match the market again. That's called beta. Beta, if you have a beta of 1, which goes to our portfolio analysis in X-ray, if we looked at your portfolio and the matrix basically gives us a number, let's say it's 85. If you have a beta of 0.85, it means that you are 85% similar to the benchmark or to the market. But what does that also say? Because it's also a level or mechanism of risk. The measurement of risk to that standpoint is that do you have the stomach for 85% of the market volatility? And when we get together with some of these people that are more in retirement or heading towards retirement within a few years,
They don't really have that stomach.
they don't have that
Right,
stomach anymore,
exactly.
right? So maybe they're
Absolutely.
more of a 60-40, 50-50, somewhere in there. That's where the conversation needs to go into some greater detail.
Yeah, and we put that all into the plans always. to
Well,
see
when
even
people
that
start
change,
to
right?
yes,
Yeah.
when people start to look at the back test, we say, hey, listen, what if in the future the market did this? How would you feel?
Yeah, that's all in our plans.
And there's no right or wrong answer, right?
Right.
So it's literally, well, 3 years ago, if that happened, I wouldn't really care because I'm going to be working another 4 or 5. If I'm retiring in 6 months and the market does that and my portfolio did this, I'm not going to be a happy camper. So times change also. And that's what Peggy brought up, the 3-month windows in which we do reviews with clients. We
Right.
do that specifically because life changes.
It does. We want to talk to you about all those changes to make sure that the plan is still the plan. And if it's not, then we do make simple changes. No problem whatsoever.
Correct.
908-844-8337. Again, 908-844-8337. We have a representative standing by right now to talk to you if you hear anything on this weekend show you need some clarity on from the team at Liberty Financial Group and Artemis Wealth Advisors. That's Randy Fisher. That's Peggy Fisher. That X-ray portfolio, it's no cost, it's no obligation. And Randy, you mentioned a couple of seconds ago about the DIY method of managing a portfolio. What's the biggest mistake when you see from people who come in and say, oh, you know what, I saw some Google Sheets, or I manage my 401k via YouTube. Great, but there can be some problems with that. So what do you tell the DIYers out there?
Don't do it.
No.
Boy, that deep breath, I was ready for something like real deep and philosophical.
And it's funny.
I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. Listen, we've come across some people that they're unbelievable at what they do, and they really enjoy it. They're good at it. They've had great success. This is the conversation that we have with people. Manage your money as long as you want to manage it on your own. When you're ready to hand over the wheel, we're here for you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to retire because they don't want a full-time job.
They do.
But what we find is husband and wives are constantly headbutting each other, where the wife wants to go out and the guy is sitting in front of a television or a computer screen managing a portfolio.
Or most clients who do come
or
in
vice
like that,
versa.
they'll just come in and go, you know what? I just don't want to do this anymore. I'm ready
Eventually
to hand
that
this.
happens.
I'm ready to hand this over. Here are the statements. I've been doing it. I maybe have been doing a good job or not a good job, but I am at a point in my life where Randy just said, I just want to be retired. I don't want to have to worry about this every day. I'm not a financial advisor. You know, we worked at Merck, J&J, or whatever the case, and I just want to be done. And I want to enjoy my retirement portion of life.
And it'll get to the point, hopefully far later in life, that you just don't have the faculties to do it anymore, right? You start to second guess your spouse's decisions,
Yes.
or worse is you start to doubt yourself and you think, well, I don't really want to make that mistake. I don't know, not so much I don't know what I'm doing anymore, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, you got a 95-year-old Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett still managing billions and billions of dollars. Could it happen that you can go all the way into your 90s and hundreds to still be there? Sure you can. Most people just don't want to do it, right? Most people want to go golfing, go anywhere, right? So do whatever you want to do when you retire. You don't want to work when you retire,
Exactly.
especially working on your money.
Or you just don't want to worry about it anymore. You know what I mean? Like you've maybe looked over it for so many years and you're dealing with that. But sometimes like when people are getting ready to really retire, they just want to hand it over.
Just want to shut it down.
Yes.
There's another thing that we always tell DIYers or whatever they call DIY. I don't even know the acronym,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Do it yourself or
Yeah.
DIY. The DIYers, they can get almost every single solitary instrument that's out there to a degree. There are proprietary products that are only available to certain channels in which they're not privy. So there are some specialized opportunities that are out there that they're not available that they do get from us. And that's how we also supplement those do-it-yourselfers.
Right.
And then we also have to do is prove to them that we know what we're doing.
And that's
because
another thing.
It's
We don't
the
always-
lack of control
Right.
that
That's
kills them.
exactly. I was just going to say that, Rand. And that's exactly it. We'll even say, you know what? Let's do this. You keep your portion of what you've been doing. You give us some of the portion. And why don't you see how, we
That's
do.
how most people start.
And it's a lot of our clients.
A
how
lot
they
of the
start.
do-it-yourselfers
And then
start.
a lot of the clients will be like, okay, here it is. Turn it over. I'm
Just
done.
this
this.
past year, I've
Yes.
had so many
Yes.
clients that started with a few dollars.
Yeah.
And with all the volatility, they're looking at their portfolio going, whoa, wait a minute. I'm losing in my portfolio. How are you making money in your portfolio? I had one person that joked at it. They're like, are you Madoff?
Yeah. Well, no, it's the husband and wife.
Not Madoff.
We find a lot. It's funny. It's a lot of husband and wives, and it's usually, I hate to say it, I'm not trying to be chauvinistic or anything. It's usually the husbands who are the do-it-yourselfers. Yep. And the wife will sometimes come in and say, you know what, I'm looking for a financial advisor. I want this to be independent. And the husband will sit there and say, yeah, go ahead. I want to see what Randy's going to do. And then it's so funny because they'll be like, all right, good job, Randy. Here he goes. I'm going to give you some of this here. Why don't you take care of it? And it's so funny that this does happen. That, it usually is, the husband will sit back and say, no, go ahead, you handle my wife's stuff. Let's see how you do. Mm-hmm. And then they'll come around.
They want someone else to be the guinea pig.
Yes, exactly.
That's funny. But I like how you said that, though. There are opportunities that we as the public, we may not have access to. This is what you do every single day.
And we bring up a lot of times in our workshops, that's exactly what Randy is, very educational during the workshops. And he'll bring up some things like that. And I can almost see it right in the do-it-yourselfer's eyes out there going, and they'll ask the question, where do I get that product? And Randy's like, you can't get that product. Right. So then that'll make them want to come in, at least first sit down and see what's going on.
There's
right?
also the peace of mind as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we have a pool and my pool guy's always telling me, he's like, look, I'll teach you how to do all this. But you know what? There's something about, I trust him more than I trust myself because this is what he's been doing his entire life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't pull my own teeth.
Well, that's what we always say. I'm not a dentist. That's what we always say that to a client. We're the financial planner. Let us help you. Yeah.
Not again, at least.
And we always say, don't put off your financial future to, let us help you achieve the peace that you need. The peace that lets you put your head down on the pillow at night and it's like, you know what? It's going to be okay. I can retire. I know that everything's okay out there. I'm going to be good in the future.
Yeah. And the good news is Randy still passed that class in college, too. So you had to make some decisions.
That was called anatomy.
Well played, sir. 908-844-8337. Again, 908-844-8337. We invite you to call the team. You can call right now. We have a representative standing by, or jot that number down, or make the phone call, then hang up and call when you have more time later this weekend, first thing Monday. Again, 908-844-8337. And we're always talking about income because, Randy, you say it, income is the outcome that matters the most.
That's
the
key.
That's
the
retirement.
Key to the castle.
So with the last couple of minutes we have here, let's talk about annuities for a couple of minutes because they are very misunderstood as a form of guaranteed income in retirement. So somebody's on the fence this weekend. What would you tell someone listening this weekend for the first time thinking about annuity as that option, that opportunity in their portfolio about guaranteed income?
I always say this too. You know what? And Randy was saying about this in another one of our podcasts. When a client sits across from us, he'll ask the question and say, hey, tell us about why you don't like the annuity. What's the reason? Well, they have fees. Well, not all annuities do have fees. All right, tell us, I never can gain access to my money. No, that's also not true. You can gain access to your money, right?
It's always absolutes, right?
Yes.
It's never's, always.
And it's those scare tactics that scare people away from just saying the words, I just don't like an annuity, or I don't want an annuity. And as we say, an annuity is the contract between the insurance company and a consumer, right? To hold a portion of your money for you to get a paycheck for the rest of your life. Who would not want that? Right? And save money.
Those that don't like annuities should hand in their Social Security payment. They should call up their pension company and say, I don't need this anymore.
We always equate that too. That it is just like a Social Security payment.
It's a personal pension plan.
Right. You're getting a check for life until, what do you always say, Randy? Until you
can't fog a mirror
That's
anymore.
Right. Isn't that what you want in retirement? A paycheck. Every single month to know that is going to be there for you every single month, just like a Social Security payment for the rest of your life.
Most people that we meet, not everybody, most people worked on a W-2 salary.
Yes.
They collected a paycheck every week, every 2 weeks, whatever it may be. They didn't get commission. So if you think about it, when you retire, if you want a paycheck for life, that needs to be a guaranteed income stream.
Right.
There are only a few financial instruments in which can do that for you. Right. Social Security, a pension, or an annuity.
Yeah.
Those are the only three options that you basically have that can set you up with an absolute bona fide lifetime guaranteed income no matter what happens. Now, what do I mean by commission? If I've got a pool of money, $1 million, $2 million, let's just call it $1 million because it's an easy number, and I want to create income off of it. Let's say I take 4%. That's $40,000 a year. I'm essentially living on commission. Now, here's the reason why. What if my $1 million lost 10% that year?
Yeah.
Am I going to not take my 4% out of the account? Well, if it does, and I still have $900,000 that's left at the end of that year, I'm still going to have $900,000 minus $40,000 that I pulled out. So now I have $860,000. That $860,000, if I want it to come back to $100,000, it's got to work far harder than it actually had to. Right?
Exactly.
Do you have a bona fide income plan, or do you live on commission off of a bucket of money? Which one is it? So what we like to tell people is you should segregate and separate your assets in what you're looking to accomplish. If you have a shortfall for income, let's create a bucket of income. If you have a surplus, then guess what? Every single nickel can be spent in the market, in real estate, in gambling, in fishing, golf, whatever you want to do with it. Have fun. If you don't need the income, then don't get an annuity. We just haven't met most people in retirement that don't need an income.
Exactly.
Right? Let's be honest.
And honestly, just like you say, when we explain it and we do the education and when we say no, all the myths, it's always like these crazy myths of annuities. And when we explain it in pure English, then everyone's like, why doesn't everybody have that? And that's exactly the way that I look at it. Everyone should have.
And how much should be in there?
Yes, a portion.
Enough to create income.
And we're only talking, folks, about a portion of your money. We're not talking about all of your money. We're talking about a safety portion of your money. That's what it's all about at the end. You want to make sure that paycheck is coming in after you quit your job. That's what it's all about in retirement, right? Is that paycheck that you're going to be guaranteed every month while you've quit that job.
We are an independent financial services firm helping individuals create retirement strategies using a variety of financial and insurance products to custom suit their needs and objectives. Investment advisor services offered through Artemis Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Artemis Wealth Advisors is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your attorney, accountant, and or tax advisor for advice concerning your particular circumstances. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Randolph A. Fisher, insurance license number 9616074, and Liberty Financial Group, LLC, and Peggy Fisher, national license number 189-42003 and 570-5833.